Welcome to the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. This episode is brought to you by Authors Unite. Authors Unite provides you with all the resources you need to become a successful author. You can learn more about Authors Unite and join the free community at authorsunite.com. Now, let's jump into the episode. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. Today I have Scott Asai with us. He's the head coach for Leadership Muscle. So welcome to the show, Scott.
Thanks, Tyler. Glad to be here.
Of course. Thanks for hopping on. We'll dive in. The first question I have for you, Scott, is what's the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
I think my life motto is I can live with failure, but I can't live with regret. So I really see myself as a starter, someone who is willing to sort of jump in the pool, not knowing if there's water there or not. I really like to take initiative. And my thoughts on trying things is that if you don't try, you don't know if you don't try.
And what's the most valuable piece of information we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
I think the best leaders in any industry are really self-aware. So when you know what your strengths and weaknesses are, you know what to do more of and less of, or ask for help in.
And what's your best piece of overall business advice, so not necessarily industry specific?
Yeah, I've learned that marketing is everything. People have to see value in something to buy it. And if you can't learn to do that yourself, you got to get help with it.
And if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Do the things that you dread. Market research, collect data, be patient, etc. Entrepreneurship is really perceived as being a specialist, but what you really start as is a generalist.
And in your opinion, what is the key to happiness?
I think you have to design your life around things that matter the most. For me, time is the most valuable currency, so I spend it with the people that I love most.
And what's the best book that you've read, and what was the number one thing you learned from that?
I've read a lot of good books, but I'd say the one that stands out to me the most is Rework. And the overall message is that you have to be different. Don't copy someone else, just be yourself. And
what's your favorite quote and why?
My favorite quote is, people don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. To me, life is so much about relationships. You don't go to your deathbed wishing that you accumulated more things. You just think about the people you cared about the most.
Yes, man. Thank you so much for coming on. The last question I have for you before we let you go is, where's the best place for people to find you online?
You definitely can look for me on LinkedIn, Scott Asai, last name spelled ASAI. But my new site, you could definitely check out. It's leadersflex.com, and I'd love to see you there.
Awesome. Thanks again for coming on, man. We appreciate it.
No problem.
The podcast you just heard was recorded with Anchor. If you want to make your own, download the Android or iOS app completely free from anchor.fm/podcast. That's anchor.fm/podcast.